So good morning to everyone. It's a new day, a new beginning, and we're going to dedicate these shiurim for the safety of all Yidden in Ukraine and Russia. And we'll also dedicate it to everyone needs a refuah shalema. And we'll also dedicate it to Mashiach's coming. So if we still had to go through another sign that Mashiach is around the corner or is here and we don't see him, whatever your version of Mashiach is, let this be the last of the events. You know, it's like we just finished the pandemic and look what we get. I guess we need more. We need more to bring Mashiach. So we have to stay positive and focused and follow, I'm telling you, the Rebbe's suggestions. The Rebbe alluded to these things 30, 40 years ago in different Farbrengens where he would say the Welt schaukelt sich, which means the world is shaking and trembling. And he would say, Malchiyos misgaris zu bezu, nations are angering at each other, fighting with each other. And he was referring to various different fights at the time in the 80s, whether it be in Lebanon, and then also with Russia and Ukraine at various times, and of course Iraq in 1991. And the Rebbe had us, the Rebbe was unfathomed by the events. Now, some will say, well, of course, a man who lived through the 1905 Japanese-Russian War, and he lived through the 1914 First World War, and he lived through the 1917 Revolution, and he lived through the 1939 World War II. So basically, the Rebbe, in the span of 92 years of his life, which is basically the entire 20th century, right, from 1902 when he was born to 1994 when he passed away, the Istalkus, he had almost 100 years of wars. And needless to say, the Six-Day War and the Yom Kippur Milchama. And how did he look at all this? He looked at it with a positive eye. He looked at it that every day Eibishter sends to the world what the world needs at the time. We don't understand it, we're not happy about it, but if you pay attention carefully, you will see, for example, the entire Baal Teshuvah movement that sprung up in the 60s into the 70s, etc., which now is like a given, began because of the counter-revolution in the 60s, where the kids were unhappy with the status quo of the 40s and 50s. And he said, go somewhere, and we want more. And so they didn't know how to express it, so they expressed it in very, very, wild ways. But that led to the opening of the Baal Teshuvah movement, so Reb Shlomo Carlebach and the Rebbe and Rebbe Tuvia Goldstein and all of these people, the Ashper Yeshiva, the Chabad Yeshiva, the Chappelle's Yeshiva, as they or Sameach, Shatora, it all came from what? From a negative. It all came from counter-revolution, right? From the hippie age, the drug age, the LSDs, and everything else, right? So what do you see? That the Yerida is Tzorech Aliyah. The descent, the problem, is actually a springboard for health, for growth. And that's the same thing now. There's no question about it that there's going to be a positive result from now. And I'll let you in on the secret, which you could share with others. It's no secret that on Purim this year there's going to be a big revelation. I don't know what it is, but I'm convinced that Purim, we pay attention to what's going to happen on Purim, it will be a big revelation. What that is, I don't know, whether the stock market will jump 1,000 points or fall 1,000 points, or there'll be a ceasefire, or Putin will be assassinated, or he'll I can't tell you what's going to be, but Purim, there's going to be a big gilui, because it's Purim. So that's the secret that Rabbi Dolphin is giving you a week and a half before Purim. But all kidding aside, we're learning this Mammar 158 in the Mammar Or, the previous Rebbe. It's a Mammar that he said actually in America. He said it that a previous Rebbe came. He came Tes Oder Sheni. Today is Dalit. In 5 days from now is the anniversary when the Rebbe came in 1940. So how many years is that? 82 years. 5 days from today, Tes Oder Sheni, will be 82 years that the Frierdiker Rebbe arrived in America in 1940. I think it was March 9th of that year, I think. Anyway, he said Chassidus, because the Rebbe says Chassidus. Where was he, Moshe? Where was the Rebbe from when he came till sometime during Nisan? Anyone know?
In Lakewood.
No. In Lakewood he went, I think, the week after this mimer was said, I think.
The Brownstone Hotel.
It's not called Brownstone, it's called the Greystone.
Greystone, excuse me. The Greystone.
The Greystone Hotel, which still exists on Broadway in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. It's owned by Satmar Hasidim. A friend of mine from Shul, who was part of that family, who became Lubavitch, invited me to go see it because although things have changed, but he says, the floor on which the Frierdiker Rebbe was at is still there, and they redid the room, but I think the outside of the room, again, is also redone, but they, I believe, know where that room is, where he stayed. And downstairs in the lobby or the dining hall is where he had the Farbrengens. From, I think, a week or so after this mimer, or during the same week, I'm not sure, sometime during Nisan, until he stayed there until, I believe, Elul, when he moved into 770 after they purchased the building. That's as far as I remember. So this mimer was said in at the the Greystone Hotel, as far as I know, and it's very important to reflect back at the time before we begin learning. What was the time? It was the beginning of the Holocaust. American Jewry didn't really know about the Holocaust much at the time. Okay, it wasn't until later, 41, 42, when they really understood what's going on. Because it was the very beginning. The Frierdiker Rebbe, of course, knew it. And in fact, in the Purim Farbrengen of that year, in other words, of 2 weeks before, in other words, the Purim that's coming up 82 years ago, we have a record of that Farbrengen. We have the written record, Sichos, in the Sefer HaSichos, 1940, which you could read, and you should read. And I think it's been translated by Sichos in English, in English, and it's a very heavy Sicha. You gotta make sure you've eaten before you read that Sicha, because he talks about the blood being spilt in Europe. You want to get a first-hand account from someone who just came and survived to read that Sicha. And the Rebbe says, on one hand, how can I be talking? How can we be talking at a Farbrengen now when our brethren's, yes?
Just interesting question interesting to me. When the Rebbe arrived, I don't know the exact dates historically, but I'm just curious if anybody knows. When the Rebbe arrived in the United States in 1940, is it possible that the United States had still not entered the war?
Yeah, I think the United States had not yet entered the war. No.
Okay.
I mean, but that's a Google. That's easy to find out, but I'm almost sure they didn't.
Okay.
But check it out on Google later or now, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so the Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, spoke, and with a heartbroken heart, he spoke. At the same time, he said, it's Purim. So how do you balance the two? It's exactly what we're doing. How do we balance now people being killed and this chaos and this destruction, and Purim's coming? Okay. So you'll say, well, then it was to our brothers and sisters, and now it's not so much our brothers. Well, first of all, look online, all these shluchim and Jews that have run away. I mean, I don't want to think about it because it's so painful. A person, imagine, let's all of us imagine, we establish ourselves in Eretz Yisrael, all of you in Eretz Yisrael. 20, 30 years. And all of a sudden you have to run it with a suitcase to make sure that a bullet doesn't kill you, or a missile doesn't kill you. You run to the train station over in Bet Shemesh to get out and you run to Tel Aviv with the train, and then you take imagine with children, elderly people. It's really sad, and it's terrible. It's terrible, And Yitz Hashem, with Hashem's help, things will calm down, and over the months, and I think they'll return at some point. I'm not sure that they'll be able to have the exact same Kehila communities, because people that have gone out to Poland and Germany and Moldova and here and there, once you taste a little freedom, you tend to stay there. So we'll have to see. So the Frierdiker Rebbe went through that. So when we're learning this Mammar, even before we begin learning inside the Mammar, the situation, Bashgacha Pratis, I didn't think about it when I said I want to learn this Mammar. I thought about it's Pesach coming, let's learn a nice Pesach Mammar. But if you think about the connection, it's very, very apropos to learn about it. And again, I believe that we'll see, as we go through the Mammar, different lessons we could take for the situation. So let's pay attention to this. And you should know that these type of shiurim, a friend of mine tells me that on a chat group somewhere in Australia, they posted either my clip that I made for the Shabbos about the previous Rebbe's lesson for the war situation based on the Mammar we learned before, Zohar, which we spoke about. So, Baruch Hashem, that, people who are now trying to hang on and find things that they could find in the Lubavitcher Rebbeim's writing and teachings to give them chizuk, is something that we're also contributing towards, so bear that in mind. Okay. lArba also, the Mishnah says in Masechtas Pesachim, well, Beis Samach Dalet first, with the help of Hashem. We always read the top line, which was written by the Rebbe himself, so it's holy. Beis Samach Dalet, with the help of Hashem. Gimel, the word Yom is in brackets because it wasn't, I believe, in the original, I think. But Yom Gimel is Tuesday, Ches Nisan, Tafshin. So Moshe, maybe you're right. Maybe he was already in the Greystone Hotel that day. You might be right, actually. But see that maybe he was already in Lakewood. You actually might be right. I have to check. There's a Yuman, there's a diary of the previous Rebbe recording, and you can easily see if he was on Ches Nisan in Lakewood or in Greystone Hotel. But anyway, it's one of the two places. Tafshin. So this is 8th of Nisan, Tuesday the 8th of Nisan, 1940. lArba, so the night of the 14th, we search for chametz to the light of a candle. Any place that you don't bring chametz there, ain't tzarich bedika, the Mishnah says you don't have to search. Why? Because you don't bring chametz there, so why should you search? Harei, says the Rebbe, shehabedika hirak b'mokim shenach bisa b'chametz. What the Mishnah tells us and teaches us here is that where is bedika necessary, where is searching necessary only in a place where there's chametz. Yesh mokim shei machdisen chametz. There is a place where you don't bring chametz into there. Veinit tzorach bedika. Over there you don't need to search. It asks the Rebbe the question on the Mishnah in Cain. Havalei lemeimar. The Mishnah should have said, Boitkin es hamakomos shemachnisam mem chametz. You should search those places that you bring chametz into. Moshe, look at the language. Avram. Boitkin es a chametz lo yiranei. It doesn't say search the places. Search for chametz lo yiranei. Why not say it clearly? You are obligated to search only those places that you might have brought chametz into throughout the year. But a place that you know for sure you didn't bring chametz into, you don't have to search. And by the way, this is the halacha today. Technically, I have here to the left of me, you can't see it, a large kredanza. It's very heavy. I tell my wife every year, you don't have to search behind there. When we had little kids in the house, and they were shy to jump on the couch and to throw candies there, you have to search. But now we're basically adults in the house. No one's jumping on the couch and throwing candies there. So you don't have to search there. Technically, you do not have to search in a place where you know you did not bring chametz into.
Rebbe?
Yes.
Can you say the same thing for pockets? Like if your kids are not kids, the kids already outgrown the whole candy in the pockets thing, or you have to check all the pockets. I heard there's a Chabad custom, you check all the pockets no matter what.
I don't know if I would say it's a Chabad custom, but the answer is halachically you do not have to. But Yoini, when it comes to Pesach, people do whatever their what's the word I'm looking for? Their
Messiah.
No, their mishigas wants them to do. No, and what I'm saying is we have to respect that, but that's your own, there's another word in English, like your own craziness, your own, worry, anxiety, I forget the word, it'll come to me, but halachically, you don't have to. Like, you know what I do? I choose before Pesach a few clothing items that I'm wearing, and that's it. And I check them, and I don't check anything else. As far as I'm concerned, it's all off limits. I'm not going there during Pesach. And with Sfarim too. I mean, and I for years, you go through all the Sfarim. The truth is, I don't use any of the Sfarim during Pesach. So, first of all, you don't have to even put something over the thing halachically. You have to discern between halacha and I don't know if minig and mishigas or own personal desire that we cover the svarim. Okay, no problem.
But Rebbe, the women, they go crazy. They're mamish like they're obsessed from to Pesach, obsession.
And Yoni, we need to let them do that because it only leads to something good. It could lead to a fight in the house if the husband, will get in the way. But if you adapt the attitude, listen, this is their turf and their domain, and we have to respect it, because otherwise, what happens? When you start poo-pooing it, you could do nothing. I'm telling you, you can make Pesach. I could make Pesach in an hour. I can make Pesach, except for the kitchen. I can make Pesach in 1 hour, and it'll be halachically 100%. I'm sorry, okay? But that's not Pesach. That's I don't want to say what kind of Pesach. It's a real cheapo Pesach. You want to exert yourself. You want to work. So So there needs to be a balance. The car. I mean, we're going to go to the top in the car, If anyone thinks that in a car with children, there isn't chametz deep down under the seats, in between the cracks, in the metal pieces, you gotta be kidding. You gotta be kidding. I don't care if you give it to a detailer 65 times, because I've done this. And there's still little things. So what's the answer? You do your best, you vacuum as much as you can, you get a small thing, and you go into the crack, you do whatever it is. And the rest, you mavatul, kehefkev, kafra da'aran, you have it in mind, and that's it. But so the question is, why can't I just be mavatul and not take out the car seat? Because car seats are schlepped to take out, and it's a bother to put in, a bother to take out. Everyone knows. Yeah, and as I get older, it's very hard for me. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. You don't have to. You don't have to. Al pidin. Mamish, you don't have to. No one is going to go under a car seat and schlep out the little things there. No one. So it's ka'afra da'ara. It's mevutel. Nevertheless, you want to get the sense that you schwitz for Pesach, you try to do it. If you can afford it, you hire someone to do it if it's too much for you. I'm just saying, So that's why it has to be it's a sensitive issue, and the general rule that we're left with in all the communities is we should allow people their stringencies, whether it's ridiculous or it's not. It's honorable to do it for the Yom Tov, and if you can participate, fine. Yeah, if the wife or the husband wants the other one to do all the work, or and not be involved, that it can become problematic, and that's not good, But if someone on their own says, just get out of the way and let me do the way I was raised in my parents' home to keep Pesach. I think I told you, I met someone in shul here several years ago who told me that his daughter is marrying a Lubavitcher. So his daughter was already modern, or maybe not religious, from a square home. And the Lubavitcher was either modern or not religious for Lubavitcher home. And they were getting married with chuppah kedushin, thank God, right? So then he says, they were married, they got married. They came to him for Pesach, and he said that he didn't eat certain foods, and he had these, and it's like saying to myself, you don't trust my kashrus? You don't put tefillin on, and you don't trust my kashrus? Are you for real? He didn't say those words, but that's what he's thinking. So he asked him, like, why aren't you? He says, in my house, we didn't eat these things, Pesach. Do you understand? He's not frum. He's not putting tefillin on. And he's keeping certain things that he was raised in childhood that are mishigas, but it's in his DNA and his bloodstream. That's Pesach.
Rabbi,
Yes.
right. I'll tell you a story that happened on Erev Shabbos. On Erev Shabbos, about 4 o'clock, we had guests. And the particular guests, both of them are they grew up Chabad, both of them. The wife and the husband, now Baruch Hashem, they have a child. And they came to us for Shabbos, and I don't know how religious or whatever, but as soon as he came in, he asks, where's your tefillin? So I told him, I said, my tefillin's in shul, because I daven at shul every morning. So he ran to shul. Literally, they were up to mincha. There's Shabbos. He put on tefillin by mincha on Shabbos. But he wasn't embarrassed. I was shocked. He was not embarrassed. I said, let's go to shul. He puts on the tefillin. He goes very quickly, says Shema Yisrael or whatever, the brachas, and that was it. He went out to my room.
And he did it probably because he came to you and he felt guilty, so he put it on. But that's the point. It's the exact point. And so you see, certain groups will be on vatel and they'll put down and say, what is this tefillin worth? What is he putting on tefillin 5 minutes before the shkia? Yes, Moshe.
I just want to, Rabbi Dolphin, forgive me. He came to Yoni. It's not that he felt guilty. Yoni made him feel comfortable.
Right. Okay, better, yes. But anyway, the Nakuda is that when it comes to Pesach, but the question, going back to the Mammar, is that the Mishnah should have said, you need to check just those places that you bring in chametz, not check for chametz to the light of a candle, implying you have to check always. That's the previous Rebbe's first question. Now, fifth line of the Mammar. So why does he say, boikin es chametz? You check for chametz. Shemashma shabadika tzricha lios b'hachametz atzmai. Listen to this. The Rebbe says, when it says you check the chametz, we interpret it as, Yonason, check for chametz. The Rebbe says it doesn't say that. Boitkin es ha-chametz. Check the chametz. Not check for the chametz. That's what he says. Shemashma shahapadika tzricha lios. That the surgeon has to be b'hachametz atzmoi. Now, what does that mean? I have to investigate the cookie that I found? What does that mean? And that's a good question. You understand, Avram, the Rebbe is saying, if the Mishnah would have said what it should have said based on the interpretation of the Mishnah, that you're supposed to search for chametz in a place where there's chametz, then it should have said search the places. Since it doesn't say search the places, but search the chametz, the implication is you have to search the chametz itself. Is this chametz? Maybe it's not chametz. Or, Moshe, sir, what type of chametz is it? Is it anger? Is it gaiva? Is it taiva? What type of chametz is it? I'm telling you, you take just this word, and you share it with the people in Neish Kodesh, they'll flip out. I guarantee you, people there have never had this question in their life. If I'm wrong, I give you $100. I'm telling you, because I didn't have this question, and we didn't have it in Lubavitch. And here, when you learn a mind with the Rebbe, the Rebbe asked the question. I'm not saying others don't ask good questions. I'm just saying this particular question I never saw. And the way he's still in the middle of his question, but he already gives you the answer. He's alluding to the answer. Boitkin es hachometz. What type of chometz do you have? That's what you need to do, Erev Pesach. Is it my anger that's getting in the way? Is it my gaiva? Is it my taiva? Is it my kavod? What is the obstacle in my life now? What an interpretation. Let's go on. The second question. The second thing we need to understand, Omroi, the Mishnah says, la'oyer haneir, check to use the light of a candle, should be used for the checking for chametz. V'hainu shahabedika tzricha lios la'oyer haneir dafka. This checking we're talking about requires the light of a candle specifically. Okay, today we know some say you can use a flashlight, but the point is it has to be light. Since when do we check? At night. Because during the day it's bright. You don't need to, right? See, if the halach is you have to check, it means at night. Moving shetzrichim oir. It's understood at night you need light. So the question is, why does he care? Why does is a sukoir? What type of light? Right? The Mishnah says, check with the light of a candle. Why? Check with a flashlight. Check with a cell phone's flashlight. Check with a torch. No, torch, the Gemara Mishnah says you can't, but I'm saying, yes, so here the Gemara has commentary on this, by the way. But the Rebbe's question is, why is it important to specify sug or the type of category of light that should be used for the search, which is or haner? Those are the two questions. Finito. Actually, we'll stop, but we'll continue that tomorrow. We'll just continue to explain where the Rebbe is going with this idea. I'll give you just a little preface. Where he's going with the idea is you have to tap into the Oir HaNeshama, to the light. The light, Oir HaNer means the Ner Nishmas, the light of the soul. And it's from that perspective, like Moshe said very well, not the guilt, but he was inspired by Yoini. In other words, the positive aspect of the soul, of the Neshama, should lead the search. Here's the lesson. Even when you're dealing with gaiva and taiva and anger and whatever else, don't go about it with negativity. Go about it with light and brightness. Yes, I have taiva, I have gaiva, I have anger. Big problem. But you can go about it in a morbid way, in an angry way, in a decrepit way, and then you're just going to get more, what's the word in English? More dirty and sultry and schmutzig and ugly. Or you can go about dealing with issues from a healthy light perspective. And the Rebbe is suggesting, based on the Mishnah's halachic words, that when you want to search, when you need to search the chametz itself, the issue that I'm plagued with, the character deficiency that I have, and I'm looking to correct it and to recognize what that is, I'm searching it, I'm studying it, I'm observing it, it should be done from a perspective of brightness and health, positivity, self-esteem. Not, I'm such a sinner, I'm such a loser. No! You're God's child. You're Eved Hashem. You have a mission.